California versus Hodari. This is a Fourth Amendment case. It's about what's a seizure and what's not a seizure in the meeting report. Uh, so this case involved two plainclothes officers on patrol in a high crime area. That's important. And they had police written on the front and back jackets. This occurred in the state of California, Oakland. So they're in an unmarked police car, and so they go around the corner, and 4 or 5 kids huddled around this small car, just take off running in all different directions. And so the police joined the chase, and Roddy D, he runs away, and so usually when you see police and you start running, that's kind of a sign that they think you're a little suspicious. And so they started running after Roddy D. And he was looking behind himself as he was running away. And as the officer was like about to catch up with him, Roddy D throws a small rock, which to the officer looked like crack cocaine. And so he throws the rock away. So when the police officer actually tackled him, he doesn't have anything on his. He didn't have drugs on his body. He goes away. So he's taken into custody, carrying $130 cash and a pager. At the time, that's how drug dealers got messages, was through a pager, and they go to a payphone. This is 1991, so we don't even have payphones now. You know what a payphone is. You get a page and you go to a payphone to call. So he threw away the crack cocaine, and so the police seized the crack cocaine and entered it into evidence. And Roddy D talked about what's a motion to suppress. Motion to suppress, trying to get the evidence thrown out of court, suppress it. So it can't come in as evidence against you in the criminal proceeding. So when you make a motion to suppress, you're asking the court to grant your motion to suppress. So the court can either grant a motion to suppress or deny the motion to suppress. So the trial court denied the motion to suppress. And the California Court of Appeal, this is not a this is adjudicated in the state court of California. The trial court in California is actually called, you know what the trial courts is called in California? Superior courts. California Superior Court. That's in Texas, what's the trial court called? You know, district courts. District courts. So, and in California, it's the people versus Roddy D. In Texas, it would be the state versus Roddy. Because all of our cases are the state of Texas versus whoever being prosecuted. In California, they use the word people. So it's adjudicated in state court. But the state courts can rule on federal issues. This is a federal issue because it involves Fourth Amendment, and it's about a seizure. So the California Court of Appeals reverses the denial of motion to suppress by the trial court, saying that Roddy D was seized when he saw the officer running toward him. So the California Court of Appeals is saying that he was seized when he saw this officer running toward him. And the court said the seizure was unreasonable because there was no reasonable suspicion at the time that the officer took off and was running towards Roddy. There's no reasonable suspicion to do an investigatory stop. like in Cherokee, Ohio, with this reasonable suspicion of good investigatory stop. In this case, just scattering and running away, the trial courts, the California Court of Appeals said there was a reasonable suspicion to stop the running. And on that point alone, the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court does agree with California Court of Appeals. At the moment Rodney scattered and called his friends, they ran in different directions. There wasn't enough proof to show reasonable suspicion. But Rodney argues that the evidence must be suppressed of the fruit of an illegal seizure. So that takes us to this, which is the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. What do you think of the poisonous tree? Mm-hmm. So the fruit of the poisonous tree is thing about a case called Long Salt in the U.S. in the 60s. So it's also known as the Reardon's evidence doctrine. So it's a rule, it's in criminal law, we're talking about criminal prosecutions here. So it's actually a criminal procedure, it's not criminal law. There's a difference between criminal procedure and criminal law. Criminal procedure is what we're talking about. Procedures that police must go to in order to adjudicate you the criminal and the fourth and fifth and 16 of them. Criminal law is like you take the course called Fundamentals of Criminal Law, and that course is not about criminal procedure. It's about what's the definition of murder in Texas? What's the definition of voluntary manslaughter? So what's the definition of intoxication manslaughter? That's the burglary, whatever, trespass. That's criminal law. This is actually more criminal procedure in our client, this place. So the evidence that is derived, get evidence from an illegal search procedure, or illegal arrest, or illegal interrogation, and that fruit is the evidence. That fruit is illegal and inadmissible in court. So the evidence, the fruit is tainted due to it coming from the illegal search procedure, and that's the poisonous tree. So in this doctrine, not only must the legally obtained evidence be excluded, also all evidence obtained or derived from the exploitation of all evidence. So if you skip down to where it says, you read about Carl Smith's library, but you skip down to where the application is. The police conduct an illegal search and find evidence. Not only is that evidence inadmissible as the fruit of the poisonous tree, but any additional evidence discovered as a result of that initial illegal search is also inadmissible. So Hodari Lee is saying that rock and crack cocaine should be suppressed because it's the fruit of the illegal seizure that he says I was seized. He's agreeing with the California Court of Appeals that at the point when I took off running, there was no reason suspicion to stop me. So I was seized at that point, which is illegal, and then that illegal seizure led to the rock and crack cocaine being found. That's the fruit of the poisonous tree. The seizure is the tree.
So what they found him, like what they found all in was
he was running, and he instead of running for the officer tackled him through the rock, crack cocaine like on the ground. Yeah.
So would this also apply to Bill Gifford? So like if you were tried for England, cocaine, all the evidence was when you look at him, because they have to find new evidence or no.
And double jeopardy, doesn't really apply here. Uh, double jeopardy is, definition of double jeopardy is being tried twice in the same jurisdiction, in the same offense. Um, it's not, this is more of a rule of evidence used to admitted at trial or not admitted. It deals more with the exclusionary rule, what type of evidence has to be excluded from trial, or is the evidence here? I mean, there's double jeopardy. So this is more of a criminal procedure type of rule, whereas double jeopardy is more like criminal law type of rule. Does that make sense? Yeah. So with double jeopardy, you have to be, so if you have a trial and your trial for murder one tends to a murder and you're found not guilty, then you can never be tried again for that same to kill murder. Even after the jury says you're not guilty, even if you go out to the media and say, yeah, I did, still can't be tried. You answer that. But,
I'm saying like, as, if the evidence, like, later on, if they're already tried and you are rated for it.
oh, you mean if they found new evidence?
Yeah.
Could they try you again?
Yeah, like if they, found, if you're acquitted in one, or if not, if you're sent to prison, and then it comes out that the evidence that was obtained was obtained illegally, then would they be able to retry it?
No.
Or is it thinking that?
Once you're acquitted, you can't try again. If you're convicted, sent to prison, and the evidence is found to be illegally obtained, suppressed, you can't be tried again if you have not guilty by the jury.
Okay, but if you are found. Yeah. Because.
Well, I mean, if the evidence is ultimately suppressed, then you wouldn't be guilty. So, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's in the metaphor of the tree is the initial of legal act. So here is the seizure. It's the initial legal act. There was no reasonable suspicion to stop the robbery. So the seizure was illegal. And then after the illegal seizure, anything that comes about because of that illegal seizure is fruit. That has to be suppressed too. So the fruit represents the subsequently obtained evidence. So under metaphor, it says the fruit of poisonous tree doctrine is an extension of the exclusionary rule. So it prohibits, the exclusionary rule prohibits, with some exceptions, evidence obtained in violation of Fourth Amendment to be used in a criminal trial. And then there's 4 main exceptions to the doctrine. Was there an independent source? Discovery was inevitable. The inevitable discovery was the case in the Orleans case where Merlin the dog found the evidence anyone. The drug sniffing dog either found that evidence in the door panel. Eventually, inevitably, even if they hadn't taken the door panel off, illegally. So that's an exception to the free poisonous tree. And then an intervening act of free will is also an exception. And then if evidence is taken in good faith. So good faith is if you take a warrant application to the judge signs off on this warrant application, say you have probable cause to make a search. But then an appellate court later says the judge made a mistake and signed that warrant. Didn't really have probable cause. So whatever you found in that search can be used trial. But the officer in good faith relied on the trial judge signing of the warrant. The officer did nothing wrong. The judge made a mistake. So in that situation, the evidence can still come in because you relied on the good faith uh, authorization from the judge. So there's a good faith exception to the exclusionary rule. We're not going to exclude the evidence because you relied on the good faith of the judge who said you had probable cause. Now, if you lied in the warrant affidavit and you fudged the facts and you put the wrong facts in the warrant affidavit, then the good faith exception wouldn't apply. Because you didn't actually get faith yet, it's bad thing. On malicious there. So anyway, that's I want to give you a little background on the fruit of poisonous tree document. So, but Rodney doesn't win the case, so it's not really applicable in the final analysis. But it is interesting argument, and sometimes it doesn't apply. So the California Supreme Court, so the Court of Appeals said the evidence has to be suppressed. The California, so they petitioned the government actually, because the California Court of Appeals said the evidence has to go out. So the state, the people of California appeals to the California Supreme Court. They denied, they didn't hear the case. So then the people of California asked the U.S. Supreme Court to hear the case. And you have sort of that's a petition for the writ of certiorari. And the Supreme Court either denies or grants the petition for the writ of certiorari. So the Supreme Court granted writ of certiorari, which means they hear the case. And I think I told you that to grant a petition for a writ of certiorari, you just have to have 4 of justices say they want to hear the case. Now you have to have 5 to win the case. You have to have 5 votes because there's 9 on the Supreme Court. You have 5 votes to win a case, but only 4 votes to hear the case. So the justices are very strategic what cases they decide they want to hear or not. So we may have 4 votes to hear the case, but if you're thinking, I don't think there's another justice to vote on this case, then you won't want to hear the case if you think you're going to lose the case. So there's a lot of strategic, like poker face things going on. And when they meet every Friday, what they call conference. So they get thousands of petitions for writs of certiorari, but they only take about 70, 60 cases a year. So most of the petitions for writ of certiorari are denied, but they meet every Friday. And they go over the petitions, the latest petitions for the writ of certiorari that have come into the court since the last week. And the Supreme Court session starts the currently in session. When does the Supreme Court session start? Or when does the term start? What time of year? Did I just mention that? Like the Supreme Court term starts the first Monday in October. First Monday in October. Whatever the first Monday in October, there's a movie several years ago called First Monday in October. It's not the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court term starts the first Monday of October. So it starts in the fall, and then the term runs all the way to the end of June. So we're in right now the 2024 term, even though it's 2025, because the term starts in October and runs to the end of June 25. But we always refer to that as the 2024 term. So right now we're in the 2024 term. And they usually put off the most controversial cases, the cases that are the most difficult to decide, cases that are most important. So you can put those off until time towards the end of the term. Anyhow, so they grant the petition for certiorari, and the only issue presented when they grant a search warrant, you get to decide what we're gonna rule on this one issue. And now, but even though they say this is the only issue we're gonna rule on, if 5 justices want to rule on something else, then they can. Because because they're the Supreme Court, they can do their part, basically. Even though they say, oh, we're gonna rule on this issue, they can rule on whatever they want to get 5 votes. So anyway, in this case, they only rule on the one issue. Was at the time he dropped the drug, when he threw the rock for crack cocaine away, had he been seized. If not, if he was not seized, then the drugs were abandoned, or something called abandonment by Hodari, and lawfully recovered by the police. So if you abandon property, you have no ordinary rights to property. So if Roddy if they decided when he was crack cocaine away from this person, then he had abandoned that property. And so he has no legal right to it. And that's what the Supreme Court decides. That he was not seized because he abandoned the evidence. So this applies with garbage. If your garbage pail that you take to the curb, like every Tuesday, take my garbage to the curb, for big, thing, it's on rollers, going down the hill, put it at the curb. When I put my garbage on the curb, I've abandoned it. So if the police come around, and the police can come around, they can search everybody's garbage on the curb. That's all abandoned. The court system is abandoned property. So if you're a drug dealer and you don't want the police searching your garbage, don't take it to the curb. Then the way to handle that is stay home, and then you hear the garbage truck coming through the neighborhood, and when the garbage truck is right in your neighborhood, you take the pail out, here you go, garbage truck, and you got those hooks to grab onto it, at least in my neighborhood. You got those hooks to grab the garbage truck and stuff, so you can back of the truck. Now, the police can still search your garbage by stopping that truck and going through everybody's garbage. Then he would say, well, what would you say? It's mixed in with everybody else's, right? No, so it's not mine. But maybe, you need some paper bag and your fingerprint, and let your fingerprints on the paper bag or something. It's possible. So, would be fingerprint. When I was an undergraduate student back in the Stone Age, we used to have a course called Police Laboratory, and it was so that course we don't have that here, but it was so we took fingerprints in that course. We did crime scene investigations. We would go out when it was muddy and people's footprints in the mud, to pour plaster into the mud and get a tire, footprint like the bottom of your shoe. And that can convict you. Is the bottom of your shoe imprint left at a crime scene, because everybody's foot is slightly different, and usually the wear and tear on your shoes are pretty unique to your feet and your way of walking. So it's not absolute certain like DNA evidence, but it can help in a criminal prosecution. Fingerprints is pretty good. If you got 7 to 5, 7 points on your fingerprint, on your rate, if you got 7, if on the door, if they lift my fingerprint, from that lifted print on the door matches 7 places on my phone, and that's a match usually. Everybody has. You ever been fingerprinted? Like, I think everybody's been fingerprinted, sort of, kind of, because when you get your driver's license, don't you have to put your finger, is it your thumbs, or I can't remember.
Yeah.
Just remember doing like that.
I just got my driver's license and reading thing. I know I did the thumbs, first time, but, it's pretty, interesting, to study that. You know what AFIS is, automated fingerprint identification systems. So everybody who's arrested, get your fingerprints taken, and then the local jurisdiction, state jurisdiction, send all this to Washington DC. There's a massive database that identifies fingerprints, so they can run, whatever's found in the crime scene against the database. Now everybody's in the database. There's some people who would like to have everybody fingerprinted, but we haven't got there. We haven't. We do have privacy and everything, right? Purposes the system. Or some people are fingerprinted to get a job. If you have to get a criminal justice job, you probably have to be fingerprinted. Fingerprints to go against data set to see if it's like your DNA evidence. We have DNA data too. Anyway, so Justice Scalia is the justice who wrote the opinion in Hodari v. So he says, "A seen Hodari v. discard would look like crack, contraband. JV officer was a suspicion for unquestionable seizure. At the time of the founding, seizure meant taking possessions. In common law, the object or item seized had to be brought from the physical control of the police." So he's talking about common this certainly is always going back to the original meaning of what the law means, the original intent of framers who wrote the Constitution. Like talk about the kind of founding in 1477. In common law means full meaning, common law meaning. Not our laws, they were perpetuated. So seizure meant something that we can control. Either has to be capable of being managed to live at this. Look at that. Carry. For arrest, however, common seizure the person until grasping or application of this force with lawful authority, whether or not it's succeeded in subduing the arrestee or not. So this latter part is important because whenever Hodari v. took off and running the California Court of Appeals said that was a seizure. When the Supreme Court says that was a seizure. But no physical force was applied to Hodari. Running. Because Hodari v. is allowed. He argues that he was seized. And the officer, the physical force, show of authority. So Hodari v. is saying I should not run. That is a show of authority. And at that moment, my liberty had been restrained. And so that's seizure. Supreme Court. Hodari v. saying the physical force and show of authority really doesn't matter. In other words, when I was tackled, the show of authority has been rammed, and the police start running after me, hold, don't run away, and show of authority. Hodari says that was a seizure. So no, that's not seizure. The seizure has not occurred. The suspect does not yield to the police. Show authority. Just because he's running away doesn't mean a seizure is occurred. The lower court said that because so when it just is on saying when the police yell stop, the name of the law, stop, don't be away. The suspect is not seized if the person keeps on running. If you don't stop, if you're not seized, keep on running. So an arrest requires just physical force or whether that is actually submission to be searched for. So if he would have stopped and not ran away, then he could have an argument to see this. But the Supreme Court's not buying it, because he kept on listening. And then a lot of media relies on this precedent with baseball usually calls. Supreme Court does not read a variety of media. It's not a absolutely small test. Mendenhall test, the person sees only a view all the circumstances surrounding the incident. So when they say in view is all the circumstances surrounding the incident, that's called the totality of circumstances. The totality of circumstances is that whenever you look at a Fourth Amendment seizure, you're supposed to look at the totality of circumstances. That means all the circumstances surrounding the event. So if the totality of circumstances shows that a reasonable person would leave, if they were not free to leave. Now this is generally the Mendenhall test, but not to leave, not a free person doesn't feel like they're free to leave. That's usually the test for a seizure, but not in this case. As the court then says, Mendenhall is misunderstood by a lot of the Mendenhall establishes objective test that exists to show the court the reason person believes the officer's words and actions stop, don't run, made the suspect, convey to the suspect or not free to leave. They're not buying the meaning of text. So some of the police pursuing off-full ID was a show of authority or ID. However, as he was not seized, he didn't stop. Kept on running, so he wasn't seized. And the cocaine was abandoned. He threw the cocaine away. He abandoned that, so he lost all his $40 price that property. He abandoned the property. So he probably abandoned the Fourth Amendment privacy rights to that property. Do something on the train, I've seen you right across, so you get up, you get a purse. Happens, right? I've done that. I've been in Kroger and left my wallet and you can cash in. And what do you it's in the wall? That's just steps. That's not abandonment. That's in the eyes of the wall. Because I didn't intentionally, when I take my daughter to the club, I'm intentionally putting it out. Right, you is throwing it, but he's that's you just use something somewhere that's not a thing. I still have property privacy rights to the property. Cool. So when cocaine is abandoned, I mean it's right, it is not a free poisonous tree. It's not free to see. Drugs were abandoned, so the police would take them. It's like putting the garbage out. Street.
So it doesn't matter why they're like taking the trash out or whatever, like for a reason of the truck and taking it out, is that they did it on purpose, like to intentionally put the trash out. That's only like it doesn't matter why they did it. When you said that they accidentally left the water, you left the water at your grocery store. Like it doesn't matter like what's the reason for it, or
It doesn't. When you take the trash, it's first, it's just means a chance. It doesn't have to be trash. Somebody, the things that are abandoned are privacy rights. He wasn't seized. The property is abandoned. So he wasn't seized. And he has some important privacy protections surrounding that. Cocaine. No basis is up to the poisonous tree is. So I'll probably show up on the test. I will also post this. That's what
I think it's sending it to the. And today is turning in the